Well, let's take a break from wrestling and get a little not crazy like political or anything, but I usually agree with Asmongold on a lot of things. I agree with Asmongold on many things. I think I'm gonna disagree with him on this thing, and listen to this.
Or if we don't do it, because we're not going to be passing any legislation, not going to approve anything. We're going to go.
He's going to talk about voting.
3.25 years.
He's right about this. Yeah, you either do it or they're going to do it.
There won't be one
100%.
bill that we're going to pass. Doing it anyway, so it wouldn't matter. They're doing it anyway, and
voting is an obligation more than a right. I think it should be mandatory to vote. What do you think?
Making somebody vote is kind of crazy.
Man, I think the opposite. Like, I think most people shouldn't vote. Like, if it was up to me.
I don't think the opposite, but I definitely don't think it should be mandatory to vote, right? Like, I don't think it needs to be mandatory to vote, but Asmongold is going to now talk about how that you should have to pass some kind of a test to be able to vote.
Me, what I would do is I would put as many barriers to voting that I possibly could. I think being
like if you're black or a woman. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I know he doesn't mean that. I know what he really means. He means IQ-wise in your brain. That's what he means.
Able to vote for the president is not something that everybody should just be able to do just by the nature of you being 18 years old. I think this is stupid. And in my opinion, if you're going to vote, you should have to pass some sort of regular citizenship test or some other variation of that in order for you to prove that you actually know what the fuck you're doing.
The problem if they do that is they can barely regulate the simple idea of everybody being able to vote after 18 right now. They can't even regulate right now whether are you legal, not legal, legal, should you be able to present if you're legal or not legal. They can't even figure that out. Imagine if they had to figure out if you're smart enough and you're all these other things enough. Like, that would be such a mess. But also, this is America, right? So in my opinion, this is America. And in America, everybody's allowed to vote because, listen, if some of the people voting are complete retards and dum-dums and they're voting and we get dumb because of it, well, I mean, America is high risk and high reward. If you work really hard and be a savage, you might be able to become rich. And then the rich get richer and it's crazy and it's capitalism. Yeah. But you could also fall flat on your face, lose everything, and be homeless. So America is high risk, high reward. So the voting should be the same. If you have a population of tardos and that's how they vote because that's who they are, then that's what you are. And eventually your country will get blown to pieces and be dead, or you'll have a bunch of smart people voting and voting for good smart people, and your country will thrive bigger than anybody else. And I think you're starting to see America go the other way here. You're starting to see that America is becoming dumber and dumber and dumber. And the solution to that isn't stopping dumb people from voting. It's educating dumb people and stopping the smart people from taking advantage of dumb people for laws that just benefit them and catering to outside countries and people. Because you can see countries like Russia doing better. You can see countries like China doing better. And you can see Poland, a country like Poland or Japan doing much better because they're very strict, they're smart, and they know what they're doing. But in America, it's high risk, high reward. And over the past 300, 400 years, the high risk, high reward has pretty much paid off mostly. But we're starting to see now that it's not paying off. And so, in my opinion, the solution isn't take away the freedom of some of the tardos out there. It's how do we make people less tardo? How do we do that? How do we get people smarter? So you should really focus on all of that, I think, before restricting the voting rights. However, it doesn't make sense that a 16-year-old kid who's brilliant can't vote, but a moronic, like, lunatic tardo who's 32 can vote. So Asmongold has a point there.
In order to be able to vote. I think that having just the masses of uneducated retards voting causes a lot of problems, and I think it leads to...
It does cause a lot of problems, but thy will be done. You know what I mean? If you create that and you incentivize that, that's what you're going to get in a high-risk, high-reward, free society. You might get tardos, or we might become brilliant.
I think it leads to so many other issues, right? It leads to like weird campaign promises, things that people don't really care about a lot, weird like things that aren't even true, and just bullshit. It leads to Jay Jones. Yeah. Logical thinking test. Yeah, I would be fine if there was a logic test. Yeah, and if you can't finish the logic test, you can't vote. Absolutely. Like as many barriers to voting as possible is what I would support. Absolutely.
I understand this, and I get it, and to some extent I kind of agree with that in a way, but you can't do it. This is America. This is America. You can't do it. You just can't, because it's not America then if you do that. It's just not America. I understand the reasoning, and I, like I said, to some degree I kind of agree with that, but again, you can't do it. So I disagree with that, but he's got a point. He's not wrong that the nation is becoming dumber and voting dumber. And you're seeing these extremist politicians are now going to be our politicians going forward, because Donald Trump was elected partially because he was from outside the system, right? But now you're seeing Democrats voting for a lot of people outside the system, right? People that like the Zohran Mamdani guy or whatever. It's like people like that who are extremely different on the left side are coming in too, because people are just tired of the status quo. They're tired of the regular Republicans, the regular Democrats. They want someone wacky from outside to come in because the other people haven't done it. That's why people like Trump have been elected. That's why people like Mamdani or Mamdani or whatever his name is, he's been elected, because people have become dumber and more desperate. They're dumber and more desperate, and they'll do dumber and more desperate things because of that. Right now the economy is like, for people like Trump, maybe it's really good. He talks about in this press conference how things are great and the stocks and Asmongold brought this up too. Nobody cares about that. We the regular people don't care about that. That's like an extra thing that would be awesome if our day-to-day lives are better. If our day-to-day lives are better and we're not paycheck to paycheck, and then the stocks go up and things like that go up, then we're going to be happy. But if you're just like, oh, the stocks are up and this company's up and whatever else, but every day my life sucks still, nobody cares. So that's why there was a big blue wave recently, and nobody likes the snap thing that happened. Nobody likes the overcorrection of the deportation of people with ICE. They did want the criminals out of the country, and they did want the illegals that Joe Biden and those people let in the country. They wanted those people out, but they didn't want some of the overdone situations that have happened. And so just people are wham, wham, wham. They're going back and forth like a pendulum. And we're going to get this extremism going forward until there's either more dead people or a civil war that's like legitimately happening in front of our eyes. Although I think we've already kind of started to see that, because we've had Donald Trump almost assassinated. We've had Charlie Kirk assassinated. We've had Democrats and Republicans, politicians murdered and attacked. We've had CEOs for corporations assassinated. That's all been going on the last 5 years. If I told you 15 years ago that the president of the United States would almost be killed, blah, 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 and then I told you that a huge social media, YouTuber guy, podcaster, part of the whole political situation, he'd be assassinated live in front of a bunch of people, and it was probably done by an intelligence agency of whether our country or Israel or some other country, they clearly killed this guy. And then I was to tell you that both Democrat and Republican politicians would be killed or attempted to be killed, and then that CEOs of insurance companies would be targeted for assassination. Like, you would be like, holy shit, all hell is breaking loose. Like, people in the country have lost it. Like, people on the left have had enough. People on the right have had enough. People in the middle who just are upset about health care have had enough. People who are getting robbed from their paychecks, their insurance, living paycheck to paycheck, have had enough. And the blame and the anger and the results are going to go somewhere. And it's going to go at politicians, rich people, companies. It's going to go at all those people. So until they figure out that the American people are restless and furious and desperate, this is going to continue, and it's going to lead to dead politicians. It's going to lead to dead people, dead popular people, dead CEOs, and terrorist attacks on companies and more. And it's going to escalate even further and further and further until this nation can start becoming well enough, again, smart enough, well enough, and rich enough that people are satisfied and happy to go back to being entertained by VR and sports. But right now, people are unhinging from those attachments a little bit, and it's starting to get real. You know what I'm saying? And this isn't some speculation that I'm saying. This is all true things that have happened and continue to happen, and they will continue to happen until both sides come together a little more, everybody gets a little smarter, and everybody gets a little richer. But until that happens, we are on a downward spiral to some kind of dystopian civil war and unrest that we have never really seen in our lifetime. So enjoy that. But, stopping Tardos from voting, I don't think is going to do it. We need to stop Tardos from breeding. Okay? I'm Joe Cronin. This is the Joe Cronin Show, taking a break from wrestling to get into a little bit of politics, but not too much politics because I don't want to push it on anybody if you're left or right or whatever you believe in, because it's an open forum to change my mind or not. As I've always said for 10, 15 years, I just kind of spew out my thoughts on this stuff without beating you over the head with what exactly I believe, because I really don't know 100%. But those are my speculations. What are yours? Leave them in the comments down below. And if you guys want me to do a wrestling video or a sports video or a video on a movie or TV series or whatever's going on, leave it in the comments down below, and I will potentially do that. I'm really brainstorming here for some new stuff for my new audio podcast and stuff like that I'm doing. So, yeah, just fill me with feedback if you can. I assume this video won't do too well because it's not wrestling topic. So it is what it is. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for listening. I'm Joe Cronin. This is the Joe Cronin Show. Guys, stay safe. See you later.